Greetings. How y'all doing on this blustery, cold day? This is the Long in the Boot podcast, the podcast coming to you from the heel of the boot of Southwest Louisiana. I am your host, G. Long, today joined by the lovely Deborah.
Hello.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing well.
It's good to see you.
Chilly. It's good to see you. It's been a while.
I know. It's been tens of minutes.
Oh, you like that phrase, don't you?
I do.
Tens of dollars, tens of minutes.
If you'd like to get in on the podcast, not this one, but any future podcast, send me an email at longintheboot@gmail.com, or you can call 337-502-9011 and express any opinion you have. You can even text your opinion if you're one of those folks that like to use your fingers as opposed to your mouth.
Vocal cords?
Your vocal cords.
Yes.
And say anything you want.
Anything?
Well, I mean, if you're
do it as a teacher would do it. You can say anything you want
as long as you're not disrespectful,
within a reason, and you're
That's
appropriate.
Right. But you are allowed to cuss if you wish.
You have to
I won't be
qualify
offended.
everything. You can no longer just say.
Yeah, we'll run it past
anything.
our attorneys.
Yes, yeah. Everything gets qualified now with some statement.
And as the video we sent out a little while ago talking about a little structure to the Long in the Boot podcast, that was fun. Well, we're going to give it a go today and see how it goes.
See how the structure goes.
And really, we got onto this kind of because of stuff that was in the news prior to the Super Bowl, mainly.
Yeah.
Tom
Actually,
Brady.
It started with the Super Bowl. If you want to go with the train of thought there, we started with the Super Bowl.
That was the trigger.
Oh, why would you do? You're doing it again. Stop it. Okay.
I did it on purpose this time.
I recognize that. So before the Super Bowl, well, once the Saints were done, I was done.
Yeah.
But because you're a Kansas City boy, obviously you got to.
Well, originally.
You got to root for the. Yeah. Well, no, you've been a Saints fan longer than you were.
And I'm not a great fan. I'm a really fair weather fan.
Big football people. But it would have been fun if it was the Super Bowl. And we've been kind of hoping for a Kansas City Saints Super Bowl, but no Chiefs and Saints.
Right. I was hoping for the Chiefs, rooting for the Chiefs, and I've always had a healthy dislike of Tom Brady for some reason. I don't actually have a specific reason.
We just are tired of seeing him there.
Yeah, I'm just tired of seeing him on my TV.
Give somebody else a chance, would you?
Yeah, right. And get older. That would help. I mean, clearly he's not aging physically.
That's what started our discussion about what are his habits and routines. So
we
went and looked.
And that's what it was. And I cannot find anywhere the list that I saw prior to the Super Bowl.
Okay, so you're just going to go from memory.
But I found hundreds of routine lists for Tom Brady since the Super Bowl.
Yes, of course.
The one I found originally was actually one that was from a few years ago when he was still with the New England Patriots. And it was his list that he gave to a reporter, and it had some really interesting stuff on it, but he was very regimented in his day.
You would expect that of somebody in his position.
Absolutely.
To be as successful as he is in his position, obviously.
And there's no question he's successful.
Some habits and routines that are working for him.
Right. And his one thing that stood out was everything's in blocks of time there, and he doesn't deviate for the most part from that.
Not during
according to the
say.
article that I read, which again I can no longer find. Well, one of my favorite things on the list was actually he had it penciled in at one point. Make small or light banter with teammates, which I thought was interesting.
That would support the idea that we all kind of believe he's a little bit of maybe a robot or AI.
I think he's an alien.
Alien, yeah. All right. I've heard all kinds of wild theories about.
But he wakes up at 5:30 a.m. He hits the gym. But I know from that other list that when he wakes up, the first thing he gets is a quick 20-minute massage prior to hitting the gym.
Say what?
Yeah. Apparently he wakes up and has a massage therapist come in like almost immediately.
Wow. All right.
And massage him before he even gets out of bed.
That's all season, all year, or just the season?
I think it's during the season. I think it's during the season.
Okay, I could. Well,
but looking at a list like, for instance, today it's like 5:30. Wake up. So,
he's got to write that.
He wakes up at 5:30, and the previous list said that he doesn't get out of bed if he wakes up prior to 5:30. He makes it a point.
He stays right there.
Yeah, and now that he lives in Tampa, of course, he's now got beach time. Mm-hmm. He didn't have beach time before, but he's got beach time now.
Oh, yeah.
And He has a scheduled nap every day.
All right. Well, we would all love that. If you used your body the way he has to, the demands are pretty.
Oh, absolutely. Intense. And he has, of course, time with family on his list. Read bedtime stories. And at 8:30, he's out. So from 8:30 to 5:30, and honestly, 8:30 going to bed. For me, that sounds about right.
Bedtime.
We get up a little earlier than 5:30. Yeah,
you get up at 4. I get up at 3 and take care of the dogs and do all that morning stuff. I was looking for the article that you had mentioned, that you had referenced back when we were watching the Super Bowl, and I couldn't find it either. But I did see where he said that that family time, like he got rid of his friend time, because for him it's work, family. He doesn't have time for friends, so that's what he has to cut out. You're going to cut out some things. And
he's not going to cut Rob Gronkowski out.
Well, apparently not. No, apparently not. But we all saw that.
I think they have a man love.
They have a bro love. Yeah,
bro love. Yeah. Oh, I like that.
Bro love. Well,
sure.
That's a real thing.
Oh, absolutely.
I wouldn't take that away from him.
No, not at all.
Oh, all right.
And so anyway, that got us on this idea of routines and successful people and what habits and routines do. And in fact, are habits and routines the same thing?
No, they are not the same thing. And that's also part of the past year, COVID year, year and a half.
We've all had our routines completely upended.
Our habits and our routines.
Even if our routines were bad, like if you were a person who went to the bar every night and partied,
and you no longer can do that, you have to replace that. And for some people, it's been a really positive thing.
But for a lot of people, it's if you're a really social person, and I would imagine COVID has been a real problem.
Yeah, but maybe you've been really creative about it too and figured out a way to get around it, because habits are a type of routine, but not all routines are habits. A habit is something that is you just automatically do it. You were taught as a child to wash your hands every time you go to the bathroom. It becomes a habit. It's not a conscious thing you think about anymore. A routine you actually have to work at. That's the thing. Like if you're procrastinating and putting something off, you don't really want to do it. That's not going to become a habit in your life, whatever it is. If you are struggling to get up and go exercise every day, you have to think about it. It's not going to be just an automatic thing.
Right. Yeah. So a habit is a routine that you've done enough to where it just becomes automatic.
Yes. And we live like that as humans. That helps us, like Bill Gates, doing this, wearing the same thing every day.
Right. He wears the same outfit pretty much every day.
The Facebook boy. Help me.
Oh, Zuckerberg?
Yeah, Mark. Mark wears the same thing every day.
But he's a robot. So Android, whatever.
Men in Black is real then. Maybe that's what it is with the
even those guys all dressed exactly the same.
Yes. Well, the explanation was it's decision fatigue. People in positions like that make decisions all day long, and that's an area where they can just make something an automatic habit and take away the mental energy or whatever you want to call it to decision making.
Okay, that makes sense.
And that helps us.
And, it helps us organize our life.
Yes, and when you don't do that, I suppose life is a little chaotic, but you still have some sort of habit.
Right. I'm more chaotic than you for sure when it comes to daily stuff.
Yes.
But I do have habits and routines. There are things that mine got totally upended this year.
Yes.
I don't have a room. For instance, as a teacher, my room was
so my
upended.
room as well. I'm in a storage pod, a very cold storage pod right now.
But it is.
Good God, we are freezing.
This is not normal.
No, it is not normal. But if a routine gets broken, you can generally deal with that because it's not part of the fiber.
It's not built in.
You haven't trained yourself so rigidly, I guess. And but your habits, when those get broken, those actually kind of affect you. You have a little more
right, like when you redo the kitchen and put things in different places and totally destroy me.
Yeah, well, yeah, but ultimately, you have always come to the realization that what I did was for a good reason and it's helpful.
Well, yeah, most of the time, but the foil thing.
Okay, so I moved the rack of all the foil and saran wrap and
I'll forgive you one day. It's going to be a while.
Okay.
I'm working on it.
And yeah, well, you still can go to that same place and it's not there anymore. You all know that too. 6 months later, you move something and you still go back to the original place. That habit was ingrained for a very long time.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
So our habits make us successful. Our routines make us successful. Is that what Tom Brady believes? I guess. I wonder what part of his schedule is habit and what part of his schedule is a routine. Because he has a preseason, or he has his season, just like school. Teachers look like that too. I have different routines during the school year.
Right, and I've seen that several times with Tom Brady's routine. Is there's off-season routine and on-season routine, and the on-season routine is probably more regimented than his off-season routine, I should think.
Yeah.
Like I did see him break his routine after winning the Super Bowl.
Yes, we all did.
Where he got hammered.
America commented, didn't they?
They did, but you know what? The fact that he actually he moved up just a hair in my book because I saw him actually schnockered throwing the Vince Lombardi trophy.
Okay, so do you think that was a calculated plan?
Could have been.
For his image, for his brand, for the Brady brand?
Speaking of the Brady brand, TB12. TB12.
Everywhere.
His supplement company, on many of his lists on these different pages, his supplement company, it'll say like, takes TB12 and puts it in his smoothie. And I'm like, oh, native ad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Buy his stuff.
It's crazy.
And it did. It shot up.
Oh, I'm sure it did. That's just the nature of
he sold a lot of product because, if you just use his product, you will be able to play football just like Tom Brady.
Oh, come on. Are Americans more savvy than that now?
No.
Oh, well, all right. I thought maybe we would have gotten it.
No, don't be silly.
So Brady's just one of many, he's our current guy.
Right. That's a now guy. There's a bunch of them.
Throughout history, there have been some weird people doing some strange things.
Well, the first thing you find out when you start researching this idea of daily routines is almost all successful people have habits and routines, but habits for a lot of them because they never varied.
Yeah.
For their whole life, once they established this routine, then they just did it so often that it became a habit. So
some form of OCD, maybe?
It could be. There were people that said you could set your clock by Charles Dickens leaving his house to go for his walk.
And that he made up his own language and spoke gibberish to people. Like he would just walk up to somebody and just ramble on at some language that he's created and nobody else knows.
But that's a really good example of that idea of habit. Oh, it's 3:30 or whatever. I have to go for my walk right now.
Matter.
No, it didn't matter. He was walking. So, and there's dozens and dozens of these from history of people who were very successful who had really interesting habits. A good example, I guess, was Beethoven. I was reading about Beethoven. He's one of many, by the way, that one habit he has, and I think a lot of you listening will have this same habit, got to have coffee. You got to have coffee.
Of course you have to have coffee.
But you don't have to have coffee the way Beethoven had coffee. Beethoven had determined that there should be 60 coffee beans worth of coffee in 1 cup of coffee.
Okay, 60.
60. And he would count them out one by one in the morning before making his morning coffee.
Well, that's definitely it. But, I've heard of that kind of counting obsession kind of thing.
Well, that sounds more like an OCD kind of thing for me. But
or a vampire.
Yeah, well, that's true. All successful people, and I didn't find a single person that didn't have a set time of sleeping.
Yes, I came across a lot of sleeping discussions too.
But I think that's probably true for everybody, at least up to a point.
Well, Da Vinci and Tesla both had in common that they followed an odd sleep schedule. They would take 6 20-minute naps throughout the day to have more hours of productivity. And when you see there's like a to-do list that had floated around Facebook, I don't know, a couple of years ago, and I saved it. It was Da Vinci's to-do list, and it would put us all to shame. Just crazy things like calculate the measurements of Milan and the suburbs, find a master of arithmetic, and he said in parentheses, probably an accountant, and get him to show you how to square a triangle. You gotta really
want it, man.
Want to do that all day. The list was just ridiculous. But he was always consistently searching somebody out to teach him something. He would have loved YouTube, I think.
Oh, I think probably so.
Sleep habits, yes.
We had a guy named Balzac. Balzac. Honoré de Balzac.
What did Balzac do?
I believe he's a writer.
Oh, okay. Well,
anyway, he was a writer. I mean, I not believe. I know it.
You see it.
Well, I don't even see it. I just knew it.
What is his heritage? Where is he from?
With that name, who knows? He sounds French, but he's one of them foreigners.
Okay, I'd need to see the name spelled. And then
it's Balzac. Honoré de Balzac. Honoré.
Oh, okay.
He would have 50 cups of black coffee per day.
Oh, God.
Per day.
Did he die of a heart attack?
Well, he did die in his early 50s.
Oh,
so
okay. He just ran that baby out.
But not to be outdone, Balzac, W.H. Auden, who was also a writer.
Yes.
He would start the day. Well, actually, we'll go to the bed first. He would take a Seconal or two and go to bed.
Okay.
He would wake up.
I wonder how long.
8 hours.
8 hours. Oh, okay.
8 hours, and then he would get up and have coffee and do a crossword puzzle. Then
work a little mental calisthenic.
Then after he had his coffee, he would pop a Benzedrine.
Oh, wow.
For concentration. And he would work until lunch. Then he would work a lot more. Then he would have guests and many strong vodka martinis.
Shaken, not stirred.
Until he decided to go to bed with Seconal.
Oh,
and that was pretty much his routine.
I guess they were liberal with
for some reason, I'm thinking he died young too.
I would think.
And a lot of very successful people actually were habitual with drugs. That was a big part of it.
They were very liberal with prescriptions.
Some people would get up and hit some opium, which I don't know how you get up and then hit opium and then continue doing anything.
Well, that's a habit. that's a habit. Hey, you don't think about that. You just keep doing it, right?
If you do it enough, it's definitely a habit.
Wow. Okay.
I never even think about that, but really unsuccessful heroin addicts do have habits.
Well, yeah. Okay. We won't go there though. That's serious and sad.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
That's a serious life choice that we don't want to bring it down, man.
We can talk about Ben Franklin.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. We can talk about Ben Franklin and his getting up and writing in the nude.
In the nude for he
air baths.
Air baths is what it was called. Let's not forget. Yeah, Ben Franklin would read and write every morning, stark naked, with his windows wide open.
Naked.
Yeah.
Ooh, that probably wasn't a pretty sight.
He was a jovial kind of guy. I'm sure he.
Well, we know he was successful with the ladies.
Yes.
Somehow.
Kept going back to France, having him some fun, right?
But so yeah, if you're and if you come into the modern age, like Hemingway had his set routine.
Yeah, well, that's why we have those six-toed cats. He would not read his work. That's what he would do. He would read it to the cat.
Yeah.
But it could only be done with a six-toed cat.
I would hate to have a cat that was a critic.
Yeah,
because they already look at you like
through some experimentation, he discovered that six-toed cats were the better listeners. Maybe the other normal cats with regular paws weren't, adequate for him.
Well, and that brings me and us, I guess, to where did this idea of that I mean, people will tell you should develop a routine. You should have healthy habits.
Yes.
They would all say healthy.
Yes, healthy.
Yeah. If you don't want to have fun.
If something's not serving you, you need to let it go.
Well, that's true too.
I mean, if you're doing something and you just keep seeing that it's not serving you in any way or helping you, then you.
Well, I guess that's when it becomes an illness, right? I mean.
Well, I guess if you can't control it.
Sure.
Maybe if you can't stop it and you recognize that but that's the first point, isn't it? That you have to recognize that, okay, this habit or this behavior is not helping me in my daily life.
True.
Don't you try to do that with students,
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, so you're not going to be able to do X anymore. You can't bring your breakfast to my classroom. So how are you going to solve that problem? And I walk them through the steps. I talk them through that. What else can you do?
Yeah, do you have an alternative?
Yes. And then we come to some sort of balance where they can still get their breakfast, because I don't want to deprive them of breakfast, but I also have a real issue with people eating in my classroom.
You don't have a choice now.
Can you sit there for 50 minutes, please, and not...
now they eat in the classroom.
Well, yeah, now they don't, because
thanks to
try to keep
COVID.
Keep everybody separate.
That's what COVID is. It's a habit and routine destroyer.
But, when we were young, the teacher would go with you to lunch at school.
And even sit at your table sometimes.
Sit at your table. You walked in.
I thought that was actually, looking back, I think that was probably a really healthy thing.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody.
And then eventually
maybe so.
teachers all got their own table.
And they separate. There it is. You want to know what's wrong with education, folks. Teachers need to sit down and eat with their students. Break bread at the same table.
Yeah, but then how will teachers criticize their students without the students hearing it?
Oh, Mr. Long. That's what the teachers' lounge is for.
Oh, that's right. I thought it was it used to be for smoking.
It did used to be for smoking.
Yeah, I know that because of how it smelled when I had to go find a teacher.
You had a smoking area. Your high school had a smoking area.
Well, until it was done before I got to go to high school.
Well, isn't that strange? Because, so society has habits and routines as well. We have to follow those. So we develop those small ones at home, the micro habits.
Well, isn't that what's happening right now?
Yes, I think
they're trying to force us to develop new habits, right? Because of COVID.
Yes.
The mask is the perfect example.
And they don't want us to even have to think about that one. That one should just be an automatic. When you walk out the door, or like we're already doing it. I'm training myself. I've put masks in the Jeep. How many times have you had to use a mask because you forgot it? Right, because
I forgot it.
And but me being who I am.
And I don't want to get in. Well, I don't want to get it too far into the mask thing, but best thing I can do is I hook a thing to it so it hangs on my neck.
Well,
otherwise I will never.
And that was part of developing that habit for us.
Right.
It helped make me successful to have it like that, and obviously it helps make you successful because you would put it down and never.
Well, like everything I take with me, everything I take with me when I go to school in the morning, my keys, my pocket knife. Yes, I take a pocket knife to school. Leave me alone.
You're welcome. Happy Valentine's.
It was lovely.
Yes.
And it cuts like a knife. And anyway, but I put all that stuff in one place before I leave the house in the morning. And if something doesn't, I don't know how many times I've not put something there, and I'll get in the vehicle to go to school. And then it's like, oh no. And it goes the same with medicine. Isn't that one of the things with people who have to take medication? Mm-hmm. They've got to develop the habit. And so if I go out of order in the morning, if I, let's say, if I skip breakfast, there's a good chance I will forget to take my meds.
Absolutely. But I'm there now. We have a little system. So I, ask you. Well,
yeah, because if I don't take my meds, then by mid-afternoon, I'm shaking and scratching.
So that scratching. Okay. No, folks, that's a little hyperbole. Just
Is hyperbole still allowed? Do we still get to do that?
If you know us, you're going to have to.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Well, that's one of my problems with the masks. Anyway.
Okay.
We're getting off my chaos.
There you go. We're bringing it back. You got to go back. Got to bring it full back.
Well, you're not being much of an organization czar. I just want to point that out. Anyway, where did the idea that you had to have habits and routines? It's a philosophy.
Yes, philosophy.
It came from Stoicism.
Okay.
The Stoics.
Do tell.
Well, the Stoics believed that there were many ways to find, I don't know about happiness, but a more peaceful life.
A peaceful existence. Life is difficult, so sure.
The Stoics were all about habits and routine. It wasn't knowing what the right thing was. It was about doing it, whatever it is, daily. Because Aristotle said that we become what we study and what we focus on, and said we are what we habituate. Yes,
our habits.
And so the idea, and that's not all of Stoicism, it's a lot deeper than that, but that is where it started. Yeah. And some of the most famous people, and the one book that really stands out for anybody out there who likes reading really deep historical stuff, you find Marcus Aurelius's Meditations, where he constantly talks about, and it's a look into his mind. And he was really big on writing things down and also keeping good thoughts at hand at all times.
So positive thinking.
Very much so.
Don't
positive
talk to
thinking.
yourself in a negative voice.
And he was a king. I mean, a Caesar. He always said that
first citizen.
Every day and night, keep good thoughts at hand. Write them, read them, talk to yourself and others about them. And that's why he wrote Meditations, because he said, such are your habitual thoughts, such also will be the character of your mind.
Well, yeah, isn't that has been said and resaid in various ways.
He also
centuries.
said, and along with him, Seneca, who was another Stoic, said, and this is one of the things for you folks who say, I don't like to read. Both of those guys said, you must consistently read, and you must linger amongst the master thinkers and digest their works. And if you derive ideas which shall win firm hold in your mind, and they're talking about everything you read, you take stuff from it that betters you
and it becomes
as a person.
the fabric of who you are.
Correct.
Books give you that aha, I'm going to keep this forever. It allows you to come back to it and use it when you need it. No different than going to the Bible and finding a passage. People, rely on that, and that becomes a part of who they are. The talking to yourself actually was on that. The European Journal of Social Psychology had an article, and it was saying pep talks for yourself. Talk to yourself in the second person. You can do this. Just give yourself one more time. Come on, you can do it. So talking to yourself is
giving yourself a pep talk before the big game.
Healthy. Nothing wrong with that. When I was teaching speech, part of before a speaker goes out on stage, standing somewhere, hopefully that nobody's watching you, or they watch you and you don't really care, but you extend your arms out wide, stand with your legs apart, and just like open yourself up. I guess in yoga pose, I would say like a star, and
Vitruvian man,
and just breathe in deeply and exhale, and just kind of like, I guess to me, it's like charging yourself, to have a positive feeling.
Sure. And yeah, a positive feeling. Ben Franklin said, there's nothing more powerful than a good habit, but nothing will hold you back like a bad one.
Like a bad one. And then you got to identify that. You really have to find out, okay, what is not serving me? Well, going back to balance, Tom Brady said that when he said he had to cut friends out during the season, and he apologizes, you're just not going to see me all that much, but I've got my job and my kids and my family, and that takes precedence. I can only devote this much time. And well, friends lose out in that whole equation.
I suppose so, unless you're friends with the person that is your family.
Yeah, well, there you go. Because I have to find balance in my life, and sometimes it's always a hard thing to do, I think. But I guess in the way I just cut friends out, and you're my friend.
There you go.
I just kept you.
Thanks.
Because I kind of liked you.
Yeah, you're right.
On a cold day. And
you all right.
In 1983.
What the Stoics came around to, and I'm gonna put it in modern English, but what they said was repetition, routine, and ritual habits dictate who we are and what we become. That there is no such thing as success and happiness in a random world. That it is habit that makes us successful and habits that make us happy.
All right. I agree with that.
And yeah, that was their kind of point. One of the Stoics, Epictetus, who started out as a slave, was freed and then educated himself completely and was one of these Stoic philosophers who, by the way, were banished by Domitian, the emperor of Rome, because he didn't like the fact that they would constantly criticize his bad habits.
Oh, they pointed out.
They pointed out.
Yeah, you gotta let people come to that themselves.
So he first kicked him out of Rome, and they didn't stop. So then he just kicked him out of Italy.
Well, at least he didn't kill him.
But Epictetus, who we actually kind of give credit to, started a school of Stoicism that spread across the Mediterranean.
Continued on that thinking.
And basically he said that habits, both good and bad, are like a bonfire. Yeah. Every time you perform a habit, good or bad, you add fuel to that fire.
There you go.
Because he was the one that said a pile of money is neither good nor bad. Well, it is what you do with it.
So COVID, the government shutting everything down has severely damaged people's lives. I mean,
absolutely,
it has upended. And as I said earlier, for some, it was helpful because some of their bad habits or maybe routines that weren't serving them got upended and they had to fill them with something else. But I think the opposite is true for more people than
sure.
that. I think it's probably
I think for the tech giants, our habits being changed to what we had to do for
them has been a positive thing.
Yeah, because they've made lots of money.
Okay, so but then that's the one thing that connects us as human beings. I mean, we just finished Our Town, Thornton Wilder, and the whole play is meant to connect to the audience, to us as individuals, regardless of everything, race, gender, where you live, society that you live in. Habits, our daily routines are what connect us as human beings.
I think so.
We start off in our youth with certain patterns and routines.
And isn't it often our habits and routines that lead us to friendships?
Yeah.
Because they also, and
that's how we gravitate.
They intersect.
Sure.
Right? I mean,
that's how we gravitate towards each other. And you keep the ones that, hopefully keep the good ones and let the ones that don't well, I keep saying it, but serve your life in some way that don't make some positive impact, you should let that go. And there's nothing wrong with that.
It's hard to let them go sometimes.
But that's identifying well, maybe they're a bad habit.
Well, you've got the habits. That's one of those gray areas where cigarette smoking is a good example. You get addicted, but it's also a habit. It's not just the addiction. Yeah, because you associate that cigarette with certain actions.
The feeling. And you used to meet people that way too, because you'd
Absolutely.
all go out and smoke. We're the smokers. you know, that kind of thing.
The smoker crowd.
Yes.
Even we talked about all these famous people like Charles Dickens and Ben Franklin and stuff, but serial killers also develop routines. There is an entire criminal branch that studies routines of serial killers.
And we're fascinated by it.
We clearly the whole society is because
that's what I mean.
There is a plethora of criminals shows on all of the streaming channels.
I love that. My kids love that.
I thought the one that was really interesting though was the guy we call the BTK killer.
Yes.
Dennis Rader was his name. And we don't need to talk about his crimes, but one of the things that he was really big on was he perceived himself to be a spy. Mm-hmm. He imagined himself as a spy while getting ready to kill someone.
Oh.
And I thought it was kind of weird. 10 people, but he did it over a course of, I'm sure that was probably why it was hard to catch him, 16 years.
Oh, yeah.
He did 10 people that we know of. But he would, his routine was he thought of himself as a spy and then thought of his victim as a target. It was his job, right?
Yeah.
And so he would go shopping beforehand and create his own murder kit for each victim.
Oh, so it was really individualized to the person he had already centered on?
He would buy different kinds of gloves depending on what he was doing, the game he was playing, whatever it was. He would always cut the telephone line to the house, even if it wasn't necessary. He did. He would do surveillance on all of his victims, not because he wanted to find out he was playing spy.
Yeah, yeah.
But his intention eventually was to kill them, and he was the BTK, blind, torture, kill. It was his moniker thing. He also had special clothing, and I thought this was really interesting. He would have a different outfit depending upon which spy game he was playing.
Huh.
But it was a routine. It was something he always did. If he was doing a James Bond type person, he would wear a tweed jacket and carry a briefcase. However, sometimes he did something else. He'd be a telephone repairman, and he would carry a toolbox. So he just wanted
to be an actor and play out a role.
Well, after the first person he killed, he realized, and this is something that other people noticed about him without realizing who he was for years, he was always squeezing racquetballs and tennis balls in both hands.
Oh, very stressed, yeah.
No, what about stress? The first time he killed somebody, he couldn't choke him out.
Oh.
He needed his hands to be stronger. So he was always
goal-oriented.
He was goal-oriented. Yeah. But don't you have to be goal-oriented to be successful?
Yes, even if what you're being successful at is antisocial and strictly forbidden in society.
And Ted Bundy
should be anyway.
30 people.
Yeah, yeah.
In the beginning, he always drank before committing the acts. But they said by about the middle point, he thought that drinking was the bad habit to do before, killing somebody.
Well, but they're going to be.
Wouldn't it have been better to give up the habit of killing people and continue drinking?
Well, it depends on which one is actually solving a discomfort. Apparently, all of our behaviors are motivated by discomfort or pain, or like if you're cold, you get up and put on a jacket. You will do whatever you need to do to solve your discomfort, and therefore all behaviors are motivated by a form of discomfort in some way.
Oh yeah, well that's the modern, and that's a modern Stoicism thing too. Is all about you start getting into that whole avoiding pain. Finding pleasure
it was
thing.
the B.F. Skinner stuff and the Freud stuff, but then we came around to realizing that that's not exactly correct, the pleasure principle and all.
Right. There are some
faults with all of that. All right. You got anything else?
Well, I did like one other thing, and yeah, okay, again, a serial killer. But it was Jeffrey Dahmer.
You had too much fun with this, didn't you?
I did. I probably somebody looking at me right now online going, this guy is researching serial killers.
I think it's a really common search, actually.
These days, it probably is. It was Dahmer, when he was interviewed, said it was never his desire to make anybody suffer. Never.
Okay.
He wanted to identify with the power of the other person. But one of his things that he did all the time is he watched two movies over and over and over. The first one, Return of the Jedi.
Really?
Yes, 1983's Return of the Jedi.
All right.
He watched that hundreds of times, and he identified with the Emperor.
Oh.
Okay.
Well, see, he picked the wrong character.
The other movie that he watched, and this one's, well, I'm going to just go ahead and say it. Dahmer clearly had no taste.
Wow. All right.
He ate people. Anyway, so Dahmer watched The Exorcist 3.
Oh, wow. That is a bad one.
That's horrible.
I went to the drive-in to see the first one.
It was so bad.
Against my father's
But in
wishes.
this case, the Satan character in that movie and the Emperor in Return of the Jedi both have yellow eyes.
Oh,
Dahmer got contacts made specifically to match yellow eyes, and he would wear them out to bars and clubs when he was looking for potential victims.
And he'd find the girl that was interested?
Not a girl.
Oh, yeah. Never
Yeah,
mind.
he wasn't about girls. But isn't that kind of weird? It's like nobody just went, okay, dude.
Yeah, that's a little strange.
A little weird.
No,
You don't think?
no.
Yeah, people are weird.
People are
Yeah, that's true. I think I've heard that.
I think I've heard that. So, what have we learned?
Well, we've learned that if you're going to develop habits and routines, it shouldn't involve killing people.
No, it should not. You should have better habits and routines than that.
Rein in your passions.
Well, do you think virtual reality things will help with that? Like you could.
Well, I have to think that VR, as it gets better and better, is going to bring out both the good and the bad.
Yeah, like everything. See,
we're
back to balance.
Right. And it does just come down to that.
Yeah, you have to find balance.
You have to find your balance.
And the more that you bring into your life, the more that you have to maintain things. And in order to maintain, you have to find that balance.
Equilibrium.
Yeah. So you're going to have to
everything has to come to equilibrium.
You're going to have to let some things go in order to bring new things in.
Correct.
All right.
And if you're not happy with anything, then you have to look at your behaviors that are around that thing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, trace the logical connections in your life to things.
And
you're gonna have to be analytical.
Former students know for just too darn well about me that I could get off on a subject and take off from where I was and sometimes not be able to get back to it.
Yeah. Well,
and I'm much better now than I was.
Because I would always bring you back.
Well, that's what you're doing now, I hope.
I am, because I'm looking at the time.
I know. I saw that. Yeah. That's a good job there, organization czar.
Bell to bell, baby. Bell to bell.
Bell to bell instruction.
Teach from the beginning to the end.
Don't let them leave. Chain them to their desks.
All right.
That's what we should do. We should just chain kids to their desks.
Well, always at the end of the lesson.
It worked in the past. We chained kids to looms, and look how much work they got done. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See?
Led to unions, baby.
Unions.
All right. Well, we have some ideas for the next. Then
we're working on it.
Then, now, and us.
Yeah. So it was a little of now, Tom Brady, a little of then, Ben Franklin and those guys, and right up to the horrible people here that we talked about at the end. And
that's part of us as well.
It's all part of us.
We just fortunately have a better balance, and we don't have more of the serial killers.
I'm not fully balanced, but I am close to I'm almost plumb.
I think it's just a constant give and take all the way to the grave.
To the grave.
Yeah, you just change routines through each stage of your life. So we're headed toward the final act, the third part.
Yeah, we're in our third act, and I got to be honest, the third act in my life started pretty crappy with COVID. So there better be some better writing coming, because this story was great. The first and second act were awesome. The third act has really fallen flat.
Not been great. No, it hasn't. And it doesn't look to be a good,
but I will say,
the trailer's not promising either.
I will say I'm glad I'm in the third act, because you folks that are in the first or second act, The third act is looking scary.
Yeah, it is.
I don't think the director knows what he's doing.
I don't think they've written the end, no. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, there you go. Hope you all have a great day. I hope everybody stays warm, and I hope the power doesn't go out for too long when the ice starts falling.
Yeah, and our trees in this area are not
well, they've
like
been
the
pre-disastered, so hopefully it won't be too bad.
Yeah.
So we're not going to get a lot of wind, so that helps. Yeah. Anyway, again, if you want to give us a call, it's 337-502-9011. The email address is longintheboot@gmail.com. And I don't have a webpage yet. I'm still kicking that idea around.
Post us something on Facebook.
But I do have the Long in the Boot page on Facebook, which you could go and like, and that would really help me out because I just like little feedback. And, after all, and if for some reason.
Everybody likes likes.
Everybody likes likes. Yeah, that's it. That's what we live for now.
We live for the likes?
The likes, and I guess Twitter people live for the blue check mark.
I don't know anything about that.
That's all I know.
I had to cut something out of my life.
I had to cut something out of my Instagram and Twitter. You have to go.
Yeah, he's not part
on
of
Facebook.
My life.
I'm looking at you, buddy.
You see me looking. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, y'all take care. We'll catch you on the next episode of Long in the Boot.